I have an opening.
You have a what? I'm sorry. Run that one by me again.
Okay, I had a different opening, but I can't pass that up.
Because you paused long enough that my brain was like, oh, okay. And then it like initially contextualized it and then took it out of context for a second and went, wait, what?
Well, I was just going to say, I found what our name should be if we ever diversify into just plain old podcast.
And that would be what?
Well, I feel like the tone has been soured. I don't feel like it, because it was more serious, actually, and I thought it was clever. I thought we should call it Mirth and Meaning. Because I was like, that's a pretty good synopsis of what we usually get up to. Ah!
So, okay.
There's the mirth. Here, and there is no meaning. Get back here, you!
Back to nihilism.
Oh no, I'm out of this. Okay, you get away today, Electra.
Electromelon become Electromelon when angry.
What?
It's...
Oh, that was a weird flashback. No, but okay, she's closer than I thought.
Oh.
Okay, how much did you turn it down? Because I don't hear Jack Diddlesworth now. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. We're going to be stuck in this for a while.
Smith Wigglesworth's cousin, Jack Diddlesworth.
Smith Wigglesworth?
Do you not know Smith Wigglesworth?
No, is this a person?
Yeah, he's an author.
He's an
theologian.
elephant?
He's an author.
I heard elephant.
Yes, he's an elephant.
I was like, okay, that took it. Is this a child's book character? Oh. Before we get into anything else, I do want to say, there's a couple, I was just thinking about names and live board games, because I came across the channel the other day that was, I remember we discovered it back when, I don't think Chasing Her is the strategy, because she seems to be prepared for that. But it was back before we even had the name. Oh no, it was when we had the name, but we hadn't actually started this yet. And I was checking to see that it wasn't going to be copyrighted already. But there was someone who had the channel named Many a True Nerd, and I'm like, you get a golf clap, my friend, because that is a genius name. Because I think it exactly is like, typifies, I mean, I don't even actually know what it is they do, but I can tell from the name, I'm like, it seems like the kind of clever thing. You got the Shakespearean allusion
Seems
and the
like
puns and Shakespeare and
seems like
nerdiness.
the highbrow crap.
Exactly,
that
that's
into.
we're in the highbrow nerd crossover Venn diagram. What's the other? Is it a Venn diagram or is it one of them triangular ones?
No, it's one of the weird like.
It's one of
globes.
those multi-side ones.
It's like the globes.
What's in the
It's got
center? Are we in the center or are we just off on a niche?
It's the weird. What is it called? The ones that almost look like
I think
bubbles.
there's still Venn diagrams even if there's multiple circles.
No, not just circles though. I'm talking about the weird like.
The amorphous kind?
Yeah.
Well, why is that gotta... That's only when you gotta try to make tenuous leaps.
What is geek culture other than tenuous leaps?
I don't think it is. Tenuous leaps? There's plenty of geeks who don't leap for nothing.
Both figuratively and literally.
I need to... There's health in every one of these lockers, and I need to remember it. My inventory is full! Okay, I was about to say, so help me. Okay. Where's she at? Oh, she's over there. The strategy we had last time was just to let her chase, run around, and just shoot behind us, cackling the whole time.
Yes.
It is a little bit... hee hee hee. Ah, do it again.
Was that the cackling you were... Is that the...
Poochoo!
Poochoo? What is... Was that your opening?
Yeah, come here. No, my opening was going to be talking about names and stuff, because I was just thinking about it, but... Come at me. Okay, so it worked that time.
I got an opening.
So basically, we let her chase us so she can do her little explosive attack. We hopefully have to avoid it. Take a couple pot shots, she'll run away, and then we just go on repeat. Is she a... Oh, she's a cyborg too. That means I could... Oh, I don't have any grenades. The grenade icon is empty. I do have these, though. I could try this. I'm just a little bit nervous about it. Excuse me, that's not what I asked for. Okay, there you go. I just am afraid that I won't place it in the right spot and she'll miss it.
How do you place those again?
It's the Oh boy, that takes longer to deploy than I thought. We'll try again. We'll try again. Wait, but it. Oh, she did. Oh, I just don't think it got her. No. Gunfights in computer terminals are bad ideas.
So says
Sean Connery.
I was about to say.
You made that joke last week.
Yeah, but I was gonna try to remember his actual name in the.
Yes, well, Sean Connery or I don't know, some Russian name.
Some Russian name.
It is weirdly quiet. How much did you turn it down? Because
I'm Russian. I eat garlic. Hooah!
What?
No, it's
that wasn't.
Just the weird tangent you were off on earlier.
Why did you make him like Arlie Ermy? I don't think Arlie Ermy's ever played a Russian.
I wasn't going for that. It was,
well, that's where you ended up.
It was it's oh, what's his name?
Whoop. She's coming to me. She is coming to me. We're doing better. She electrocuted herself. She's about to electrocute me. We haven't had the stupid floor electrocution like we have every other time, so I'm assuming that's a good thing. Because this strategy is working a whole lot better, and I don't know what the difference is, because this is what I was trying to do last time. It just appears to be working this time. But we are going to run out of ammo here pretty quick, because there's only so many lockers. And so much inventory space. No! Okay, where's my stim? I need to be stimmed. Is it in here? Is it here? Consumable insulin. Is that what it said?
I didn't see.
Hypostim. Okay, that said insulin. I was like, that was unexpected. Okay, I'm gonna let. Whoa! I'm running into the no, the electro floor says no to me. Just keep. Okay, if you have full health, it doesn't kill. I mean, that's low consolation because I no longer have full health. But come on. So we're basically baiting her into her own demise.
What's annoying is
here.
there's zero understanding of how much progress we've made.
I mean,
that is one qualm about this particular game, especially when it comes to any sort of significant fight or boss fight or whatever you want to call it, is that there's zero ability to track your progress.
I did not ask for that. Why does it keep doing that? That, I think, is an element of modern games anyways. Like, health bar was always a bit of a retro thing because it doesn't actually make sense when you think about it. How could you know whatever someone else's health would be?
You're almost dead!
Also, I mean, the health bar, even your own health bar, doesn't make sense because how can you quantify your health that accurately?
Well, that makes a little more sense because given that you're a cyborg, I feel like you'd be
I suppose in that unique context.
My heart's stopping!
But this is not the only game in which that occurs, so I don't think that's
true.
Come at me! I mean, I am hitting her every time she does react, but I have no clue how much it hurts. I also have to wonder if I'm doing this the right way.
There are songs that tell you how much it hurts.
Yeah, when airplanes in the night sky and all that. Isn't that one of them? I think that's one of them.
Oh.
Or is there, what's the one with the Eminem song? Is that the one you were thinking of?
The Eminem song? Which one is that?
Isn't that him? Him and Rihanna did the one with the, whatever it is. This is how up on pop culture I am. Not that it's pop culture anymore. That was 10 years ago.
I feel like it was Eminem.
It was not the airplanes. I'm talking about a different song now. That was a different one. I'm saying the one with the... No! I didn't take my juice! I'm out of juice!
Literally.
Well, that was dumb. So, the run and gun strategy does actually work pretty well.
Yeah, but you gotta be good at it.
Is that an admission on your part?
I've never stated that this game
You're never sedated. I've never been sedated.
I've never stated that this game particularly is one that I am particularly inclined to do well at. I'm not
You're
good
qualifying that very heavily. You're shrouding that in Barbosa style. This game is disinclined to acquiesce to my skill request.
I'm
standing towards the explosive woman does generally lead to death. Ooh. Don't chase her. Do what I did.
Chasing.
Get ammo and then just wait for her to come to you.
Okay, so when you
pop her
do
in the
that,
skull.
is that... I mean,
Just,
which
you're
okay.
See, this is why you can't wander, because if you come across her, she will start shooting you. That's why
I wasn't wandering. I was trying to go to the locker, but I don't know inherently which ones they are because
they're just along. This is a small circular room. Just walk in a circle.
You made the statement before that you have to go to the right locker, like the correct.
Every locker has.
The same
not
stuff?
every lock. Maybe not shotgun shells, but they probably have bullets for guns we have. We have a fair arsenal at this point.
I didn't realize that. I thought you made a statement earlier like, you got to find the
right
right
last
ones.
time?
Yes.
I don't remember anything I said last time other than that we got real worked up. Are you about to work us up some more, it sounded like. Oh, see, puffs of blood. That's what I like to see.
She's got a bit of a Naruto
I don't belong
run
on a
about her.
list.
She's leaning forward pretty heavily.
Well,
like
she's got them satyr knees. I think that's
satyr knees.
That's part of the augments. Well, you're gonna work yourself up again.
I would like
you had to work up.
Well, no, I would like you to at least.
I gave you a transition talking about I got worked up and now you're getting worked up for the same reason.
You got worked up about what?
We got all soapboxy last week and it was my fault, and now this week it'll be your fault.
Well, no, you sent me a video again that I think
okay, I need to run, dude.
Helps at least set this up, but it further kind of unpacks the topic we were talking about last week, which was the idea of capitalism versus consumerism, and the idea that that's really the villain is what consumerism, correct? And you sent again that video that basically said as much, but in a manner that was a little bit more clinical, if I can say it that way.
Well, it wasn't. Well, it was a.
So it was a bit of a pseudo documentary, if I could call it that.
Why do you do that?
It was only about 15, 18 minutes or whatever, but it was more of like a scientific.
I see you. Okay, so she's coming from this direction.
That stated that
bring your pretty face to my
the
mind.
Contemporary context.
Okay, that was too close.
What did they do? Like 30 homes or something like that?
It was something like that. Dang it, that didn't work because it concussed both of us.
And
well, okay, that just put us both on the back foot because now I'm half dead.
And there
She's
was
probably less than half dead.
Essentially, they found that they're, by and large, most people now just have random stuff around their house that doesn't really. They were talking about the utility of things and the idea of things you actually interact with on a daily basis versus the thing that is just there.
I need some hypo-stim.
So I was curious what your initial take at it was, because I bet you that you and I emphasized, or at least had particular things highlighted in our own heads. So I'm curious what your particular thoughts on it were, because you sent it to me and said, need I go on essentially about the fact that consumerism is the issue. So clearly you thought that was really the crux.
Well, I think it's obvious in that because there was no capitalist messaging.
No, I agree with that.
She's coming for me, but I am coming for her. What? Okay, that was the most. Okay, well, at least thanks for that. That was the biggest delay ever. No. So I basically have to prevent her from doing that, because unless I have full health, that is essentially a guaranteed kill. And I don't have enough healing resources to always be at full health.
The question is, what is that? Because if you could get it, that would be stupendous.
She's exploding. We know this. She has some kind of weird explosive hips. We talked about it. And then when she does it, I think the reason it does the floor is whenever she does it near the wall, she explodes the monitor, mainframe, whatever.
Right, and that's what.
So I guess I just have to avoid
Try to stay in the center location.
Yeah, but then I don't have the strategy is that I try to duck and weave between the walls because that gives me some cover. Because basically we run in circles and take pot shots at her whenever she can. Whereas when you're in the middle, she's gonna just get you because you won't be able to duck behind something. There's nothing to duck behind. I suppose you could try to duck behind these weird screens, but I imagine they'll cause the same issue if they explode.
You think so?
Well, I guess it's worth trying. I'm surprised that the floor hasn't blown up, given that it seems to be made of glass. Again, maybe it's some kind of high tensile, whatever that stuff's called, plexi or something. This is why I don't think this dread. Well, okay, okay, it did hurt. I was gonna say that didn't hurt. It hurt that time.
But my
You take a different. You give me your take. I gave all my dirty laundry last week, so now it's your turn.
I think that there was a couple things that were highlighted in the video that I think it's not that they were missing in your initial argument, but I feel like the way that they drew attention to them was well,
it's in real world terms. It's not an ideological difference. It's a literal like look at what it does to you.
Right, but it was you. So one of the things he said specifically was, we have a lot of means and kind of mechanics for getting things. You know, birthdays and Christmas and various things like that essentially give us things. But there's not a lot of mechanisms in our lives that we've made for getting rid of things, and that I feel like is a fairly significant detail that I don't think dismisses the argument that you were talking about as far as consumerism being a big issue, but I think also another issue is gluttony, if you will, or excess in stuff.
Well, that's
exactly
essentially what I was talking about.
Well, and that's essentially what the video was getting at.
That was more on the realm of, I guess the difference I suppose I can sort of see is mine was buying a bunch of inferior stuff, whereas this was more about just the unnecessary buying of stuff in general. Because I think what we were talking about last week was the concept of not wasting cash on that which is garbage, effectively.
So, well, and I'm gonna get to that, but I think that the initial bird walk I was going to take was one that essentially said the mechanisms that we have of getting things. I think I'm not somebody who buys a lot. I'll say it that way. So I don't know that consumerism has ever been something that's really befalled me in a significant manner. But it's because I find that
I felt like I was
those mechanisms of birthday and Christmas and those types of things do enough to get me things that I'm like, oh, I've been waiting on this, or I've been like kind of wanting this, or whatever it is, that I eventually will get that.
Well, because I think if the documentary seemed to be, they never actually drew any like moral conclusion from it, because it was actually a sociological study.
Yeah,
but they were basically, it was more of an anti-hoarding thing than it was an anti-consumerist, which they go hand in hand.
But I mean, yes, I agree that hoarding essentially is just the extreme on the one side. But even within that context, I feel like the houses that they were showing weren't necessarily like horrible.
They were worse than any house I've lived in. Maybe that's just maybe that was because we were raised better.
I agree, but I think.
But also, I feel like they were a lot like houses I saw as a kid, where I'm like, this is a lot of random junk.
Right, but well.
Are you sticking with your middle of the room strategy?
Yeah, I'm gonna try it again.
Because she could easily sneak up on behind you right now.
So the reason I say that what I took from it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but even though...
I can't correct you as to what you took from it. This is what I mean! If your back's against the wall, you know for certain she can't come from that direction at least. That's the reason for the wall strategy.
Sure. Even though I wouldn't say that I have like a ton of stuff, when I look around my house, there are certain things that I go, have I looked at this or engaged this or interacted with this in any way recently?
Yeah, even I had to sort of have that moment where I'm like, they describe how basically the contents of the study was they asked volunteer families and would literally catalog every item that was in the house. And
there's so many items that I
can't even imagine what that would... Because I don't own much because I have only until recently been pretty much flat broke as a college student. And I don't have much space in which to have stuff.
Right.
But even then, I imagine if I did a literal catalog of like every item I own, it would be more than I think. I'm certain.
Not just that, but I think the things that are included in that, what's surprising to me is there are definitely things around my house that I go, this carries no actual function. It's purely sentimental, or it's purely,
but I think that's
whatever it is.
Depending on the nature of it, I think that can be enough of a function.
It's not bad. It's just...
art serves no function other than I like that it's there.
Right. It's not bad. It's just that
I don't think that hit.
Whoa.
Okay.
So his whole.
I'm willing to bet that was a glitch. Oh, okay. This probably isn't. That was my fault. I was given one bit of grace and I didn't make good use of it.
This whole term that he talks about, again, having a mechanism for getting rid of things. My initial thought when he said that was, why isn't spring cleaning still a thing?
Well,
like, I'm just saying, if you had that mechanism in your house of like, you know what, every spring or whatever it is, we go through literally all of our stuff.
Well, but how often was it done in the past too? Because I think it's still a well-known like trope. That's a phrase people still know.
Well, but do we do it?
Did we ever do it?
I think we did. I
mean, I guess I'm not old enough to say whether or not, especially because it's like I've only recently been in charge of my own household, so. Even then, I guess I've never done it on a spring thing. I being in a small enough enclosure means that I have to. Like, it's not because it's spring. It's like, okay, literally, I'm running out of functional space.
Well,
so something's got to go.
Sure, and I think that's at that point where most people
I think this center of the room strategy is going to get you far.
The key line, I suppose, is different for various people. Key line.
Key?
Keel.
Oh, it sounds like you said key lime, and I was like, we're going to talk about that. Okay, she explodes multiple times. You can't be near her.
Like, hey, she exploded the first time, and I survived, so I figured
she does it 3 times. That's what the computer keeps telling us, is she's got 3 preloaded explosive hip gyrations.
So, within the...
within one thing, I think we're steering clear. We're not soapboxing it. This is more lecture-like.
Well, within the context of spring
cleaning, you gotta get worked up, is what I'm saying. No. Get mad. I don't want your dang lemons. What am I supposed to do with these?
Within the context of spring cleaning, I feel like if I actually took a committed time every year to say, there's what's the author that literally did the whole "if it brings
Marie
you joy"?
Kondo,
yeah. That whole context of,
it's not a bad idea.
And it's not. What I'm not saying is you can't have anything sentimental. What I'm saying is, if you start to realize
it sparks joy, that means you'd only have things that were sentimental after that.
Sure, but I mean,
I think she has some provisions of like, yeah, you can't get rid of your car keys.
I don't know how you particularly gauge
I've already
this
talked
in your
about
own
my
spaces.
maximalist. I actually have a new term that I'd like to propose that I think
maximalist.
We talked about this not that long ago, where I think it's the opposite, but it uses the same framework. I'll talk about it again because I have a better name for it.
Sure, go for it.
Well, no, after you're done making your point.
My question to you is, if I were to bring you into your own, like a space that's yours that you haven't cleaned in a while, but you haven't necessarily looked at the items in it for a while, and you were to have to part with some things, what qualification or qualifiers would you use to identify things that go or things that are kept? What is your primary? Is it sentiment, or is it like
primary? Would be use. It'd be like, do I? Yeah.
And that's for me.
I do have a chest of stuff that's like, okay, school memories or things of
I feel
childhood
like,
stuff. It's like, I don't want to get rid of this, even though I don't. And even then, though, I do have a tendency to reflect on those things, at least, occasionally. I probably look at that stuff, maybe once a year is too much, but it's like,
sure,
the things I keep are things I want to have, therefore I do want to actually look at them.
Right. So
it's it's the art defense where it's like, does it serve any function? No, but do I actually remark on it and think I'm glad that that's up on the wall?
Right.
I mean, I don't think those exact
at that point, it's use, again, utility.
Yeah, basically, because I think emotion is a utility in a way.
100%. Yeah, and that's why. So that's actually almost purely the metric that I use for identifying what to be kept and what. That almost seemed like it was coming from the wall.
She does. She's still invisible when she runs around. That's the one thing I haven't figured out a solution for, is that she does wander while she's invisible. And if you get unlucky enough to be where she was wandering to, she'll just open fire. And I don't think there's a way around that.
See, the thing for me is we gotta avoid the spray and pray, like I'm just waiting for her to show up kind of a thing.
Well, but I don't think... Do we need to avoid it? Because the problem is... I'm definitely hurting her. The question is, am I doing it enough to get this over with.
What is that? Because I feel like me following her, although I understand that it's not...
The problem is I think when you follow her, because she's invisible, she will always have the drop on you. Like this. She saw you before you saw her.
I guess, but...
Like, we can follow the footmarks in the water, and we can sort of guess where she's at, but she will no doubt always see you before you see her.
So anyway, back to the metrics thing. What I'm saying is, when you use utility purely as a means of identifying what you should keep or you should give away, I think that in itself allows you to be very sober-minded or honest with yourself about what needs to go. Because, like you said, even with sentiment, those types of things are things you go, no, I want to keep this, and here's why. I actually interact with it. Rarer maybe than other things, but when I interact with it, it's appreciation.
And it's not sentimental to you if it isn't something you actually appreciate now and then.
Right, exactly.
It's just you're hesitant to get rid of it. I think a lot of it may actually be, in some cases, a sort of almost social pressure where it's like where there's a degree of someone gave me this and I would feel bad getting rid of it even though I don't want it. Because it was a gift, and so to toss it, I feel like I keep it just in case. Well, no, I think that's
asked about it because I'm like, no, I can't live my life based on others.
I don't know that that's exactly quite to the degree of hoarding yet.
Well, no, but it's certainly a mentality. I mean, I can't get rid of that because it's such a good item. It's like, well, okay.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in the sense of a sentimental. It's like if this was and I'm not just talking about like any old random piece of crap. I'm like, okay, this was a Christmas gift that maybe didn't land.
Well, but and then why do you keep it? That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, that's why. But I'm saying it'd be merely the fact that it's like I feel bad to get rid of it. I'm not saying this is a genuine defense, but I think that's people's first reaction is I would feel bad getting rid of it.
Sure, but all I'm saying is it would behoove us to live our lives in a way that didn't concern ourselves with that kind of thing. Well, and that sounds really harsh.
I don't disagree. No, I don't disagree.
But I'm sorry, this was a crap gift. It didn't land. Like you wouldn't say that to somebody, but
well, but to get rid of it is effectively to say that.
Not really.
Not to their face, but not that most people would ask. But I mean, if someone did, you'd have to be like, "Oh, we got rid of it." that was accidentally destroyed maliciously.
But I mean. The people that I would argue that's more on the person.
Well, it's on the person. Well, I would actually agree. I think that's
an awkward social.
I do think that there's definitely
position.
I have come to a point where I'm like, I almost am Hello. Okay, now see, I need the mines because I know now for sure where she's going to come from. Now those seem to take a lot longer to arm. Okay. Well, this didn't help anyone. How far back from those things do I have to be before they don't do that to me? Because that didn't help at all. Like, the mine strategy is the only thing I can think of that might shake this up and make more progress faster. Because I'm definitely seeing, like, blood every time I do this. So she's getting hurt. I just don't know that she's getting hurt enough. And
well, what you're doing right now is clearly working.
She certainly gets hurt when...
If you can keep her circling around one thing.
She does... Well, that's my strategy. It's just the problem is she sometimes will sneak up on me while I'm trying to grab more stuff. Now, whenever she blows up one of the power things, that seems to hurt her too, but it also hurts me. So I don't want to encourage her to do that because that'll just kill us both.
So anyway, that whole principle of having a mechanism,
she's coming.
Having a mechanism
I actually caught her that
that's
time.
Consistent to get rid of things.
That's why Marie Kondo became a huge sensation.
Right. I think that's super important, and that is something that I think.
Oh, okay.
But then the other thing that he said that I think was really potent, that was important to bring out, was that he said, and this kind of comes down to a little bit of when everything went away as far as class system and structure and all that kind of stuff, was the idea that things were made more readily and cheaper and at more volume, essentially, is what he was saying. So he's like, now. And he said, so
he wasn't saying anything about this.
No, he did. And at one point he said something about, like, essentially things are being created, or like items are being created with more ease as well as less expense.
That didn't have anything to do with class.
No. He didn't go into class. What I'm saying is then people are buying more and more. Yes, I am. People are buying more and more, right? And I think a part of it...
You dumb cow! Ah!
You dumb cow.
I'm injecting myself with meds while I get electrocuted. Oh, okay, I thought maybe that... So that doesn't seem to hurt her enough to stop her from attacking. I thought I maybe had a chance to go and get her. I don't think that's a strategy we want to rely on, because it hurts us too much and doesn't seem to hurt her enough.
What, the
weird triggering the explosive, because I don't know any way we can immunize ourselves to it, and she doesn't seem to take enough damage for it to be beneficial. I know that there's an upgrade where you can I can't say that word. Immunize yourself against electrocution. It's like it's one of the upgrades, I forget on which tree. So if you had that, this fight would no doubt be very easy, because you could just trick her into electrocuting herself a bunch. But we can't do that. So I suppose maybe that we could, to get back to the complaint I had last time about saying some of these boss fights don't feel like that heater.
It's not the heater. Trust me.
No, it's the heater.
It's not. It's actually
it makes sense,
my doofus dog.
It makes
really
sense for a heater to turn off when it tips.
That is true.
But to make it beep is just absurd. Like, that serves literally no function. Because it also turns off when it falls over. So why does it need to beep? Nothing's going to catch fire if it's off. So it doesn't need to beep at me to tell me that it's over.
I'm not going to be heating you anymore.
That's stupid.
So what I'm saying is, and I am extrapolating, but his
argument... I don't think it's a wrong extrapolation.
His argument is they became more readily available because they got cheaper and they got more, like, there's just more of it. I think...
But they got worse, too.
Agreed, but the point is, and this is where I say class comes into it, because back in the day, certain items were only able to be possessed by a particular type of person.
Well, and this is why I actually am totally opposed, even ideologically, to the concept of fake stuff.
Fake stuff. Oh, like homage or like...
No, like, even practically speaking, like, I think fake stone countertops are so stupid. Because they're brittle, you can't set hot stuff on them, which is the primary benefit of the stone countertops. They stain.
At that point, all you're doing
you're literally doing this so that you look like you have a nice fancy countertop, but it's crap.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't deserve a nice fancy countertop if you can't afford it.
Right.
There's other ways you could do it. There's other ways you can make it look nice. You know, you can do butcher blocks can look decent if you do them out of wood, and you can make them utilitarian. Oh, I can. Okay. I've made a discovery. And I'm out of ammo. That's a bad discovery. I think she's running away, though. So if I shoot those things, they only explode in slightly. But if she blows up next to them, they go nuts. So I can trigger them instead of her. Okay. That's a Computer, why didn't you tell me that? I mean, I guess maybe the computer probably doesn't want me to destroy part of her self, I guess. But that is very useful to know.
So you're kind of beginning to pick up where I'm going, but the idea is that...
Picking up what you're laying down.
If I'm a low middle class...
Oh, she's faster than me. No, that's exactly what I was trying to avoid. Okay, so I really can't run backwards because A, she's faster than me when I do that, and I can't see where I'm going. But now we know.
I can't see where I'm driving.
You have to be careful. So you want to lead her through the weird alcoves, shoot the thing while she's next to them because they'll only attack her and not you. But don't let her explode near them because then they'll just hurt everyone. Did I put my water bottle somewhere?
I'm not sure.
Dismiss it. I'm not sure. Why don't you go figure it out yourself? You make your point. I'm going to look for it.
Within the if I'm a low middle class person and I don't have a means of getting a particular item that typically or
that would come across as high class,
right? Then back in the day, it was like, okay, well,
you didn't get it.
You don't get it exactly. Did you see the heavy rifle? Did you see that?
Yes, but that's a massive gun that we would have to totally reshuffle our inventory for.
Sure, but I mean, if she's
there's no guarantee she's going to come from that way. You got to lead her down that path first. She's not just going to do that. You have to...
Yeah, you said
I said you have to get her... You have to lead her down there. You can't just stand in front of it and hope that's the path she takes.
So, then I would buy it and go, well, see, I
look like I'm high class.
Right. I mean, it's like the whole idea of like, if we narrow our focus maybe into a particular... It's actually
to bring you back to the World War I sort of abolition of class thing.
Let me narrow.
Okay.
If you narrow into a particular category and say like watches, for instance, there are watches that literally are designed now to look and basically in all respects
that's not
act
even,
like
there's been fake knockoffs of things forever.
But what I'm saying is that the reason that that's a thing is because people have this impression that if I just have something that looks like I'm put fancy or I have this whatever.
Well, I actually think it's a syndrome-esque. That's the way we abolish class, is by making it mean nothing.
Sure.
It's if everyone looks rich, then no one is.
Right.
And I think that's what I mean when I say we realized that we couldn't, truly abolish the class system because, unless you actually go with full communist revolution, which I don't recommend.
Yeah.
So the only other alternative that's the non-violent path is, well, then we'll just flood. Okay, she's faster than I thought. No, okay, if that was her, I thought I did that because I shot it the same moment she exploded. So you got to be quick and hit that before she explodes, because otherwise, bad times. So it's essentially we're gonna make there can be no status symbols because there's no real worth to anything.
But then what that caused, and to the guy's point, is it made stuff more readily available, sure, to everyone. And, but then target markets became not a thing as much anymore. And then it was like, okay, at that point...
Target markets? What do you mean by that?
Well, meaning...
Demographics?
Yeah, look, so if I am designing a product, it is true that culturally, now, like, for instance, brands get bashed all the time because it's like, oh, this is overpriced for what you're getting. It's like, yeah, but I'm designing it to be something that only an elite few can afford.
Well, I think that's not exactly that. I do think is cheap because that's artificial price gouging. There she is. Shoot the thing.
I didn't die.
Well, okay, aim helps. Don't do it now. She's no doubt walked away.
Yeah, but it didn't even do anything.
I think the shotgun does it in one. I think the rifle might take multiple. Now she's coming. Shoot it! Blast it! Okay, multiple times. She came around. Okay. Run away from her.
I was trying to turn around.
Don't bother shooting.
You said that you couldn't run backwards, which I've noticed.
Well, then you turned like a freaking tank. What was that?
But the problem is that when we suggest that everyone can have something, and it's exactly what you just said.
I think. That's what I was saying. Is the notion of, well, it's crap, but I'm charging a lot. That I do think is stupid, and you shouldn't pay for that. But back in the day, high quality stuff actually was genuinely expensive.
I'm talking about that. I'm not saying like, oh, this is not a good product, but I'm going to charge a lot for it to make it something.
Well, but you were suggesting that like a designer could deliberately do that, and that would be valid.
What I'm saying is, when you've built a reputation of having good quality stuff, like say a guitar, for instance. Gibson for a long time started like, okay, we built guitars now to the point that we really have a high quality or high expectation on what these can do and perform, so we're going to charge this particular dollar sign for it. Now people are going, well, okay, but and I think it's fair when you say the quality is actually diminishing, therefore I'm not going to buy into it anymore. But when you say, well, that's not allowing for everybody to then...
Okay, she is very fast. Okay, now that time it didn't work. There's got to be a specific spot to hit those on. I think the big central glowing, use your video game logic, I think that's the weak spot.
But I think that to my point about him saying everything's gotten cheaper, that's also meaning the quality's come down. Well, because we've dropped quality to the lowest common denominator. Because
industrialization made it so that quality stuff could be made cheaply. But now then we're well beyond that, industrially speaking. So now it's just the only way to reduce cost is to make it inferior.
Right.
We've reached the cap where a nice quality version of this thing can't possibly cost less than this unless radically new technology is invented.
Right.
But now we're just going to make it cheaper by drastically reducing quality. I saw even a thing that was a comparison, and this is actually another bailiwick of mine. That's a fun word, by the way. Hardware stores suck today. And I saw someone give a graph of like, this is actually why, lumber prices are just ridiculous. Is that it was a 2x4 from like 1950. He's going, look how tight the rings on it. This came from a very old, very dense, very strong tree. He's going, if you look at modern 2x4s, they look like they're made of paper mache. It's like this tree was probably barely 10 years old. And that's because they're farmed for wood. Right. And they are not, so they have to, meet their quotas. They can't let them grow to the full size that you would normally harvest a tree because that would take too long.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, but that's also why every hardware store, literally, I once I was doing a theater project, building sets, and literally I needed something absurd. I needed like 40 slats of these kind of 1x4s or 1x3s, something very small. But I sifted the entire rack because I had to get stuff that was at least relatively straight. Okay, and now I'm stuck in a corner. She's demonstrating being relatively straight. But literally, it's like they have the giant like pallets worth of several hundred, and I sorted through the entire thing because that's how much it took to find 40 of these things that were freaking straight. Yeah. Because they're so flimsy that they just bend at a stiff talking to.
What do you? This is definitely.
This was a bailiwick. I'm just getting mad because I had to go to a hardware.
Soapboxy thing. Did you just decide that you're gonna get your own soapbox out?
This made me mad because I actually had to.
Just jumped rather than.
Yeah, you deserve that. I'm taking my back because you were too busy. You were too busy poking fun at me. I'm mad about it because I had to go to a hardware store recently and was reminded. I'm like, I'm just gonna. You're gonna have to start going to proper lumber yards.
Yeah.
And it's like that's sad because basically the hardware store is where lumber goes to die. If you want proper lumber, you're going to have to get it from a lumber yard because they sell to contractors who have higher standards.
Right.
Because I even was thinking, I'm putting shelves in my closet. It's not a major renovation. So I'm thinking, I don't need to go to a lumber yard for that. This isn't like I'm framing a house. And yet, even still, it's like, okay, apparently, literally, it doesn't matter what you're needing this wood for. You have to go to a lumber yard because hardware stores, that's their whole thing. They've driven the bottom line so low that the only way to meet it is to just have really crappy stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm done with it.
Well, but here's where that comes in, though. You get people like, so I'm in roofing, obviously, and
you say obviously every time. I don't know who you're. I know that, but they don't know.
Well,
that.
I've said it enough times, and it's like.
I suppose you probably have.
So, but my point is, in roofing, we obviously have a supplier that we use because in the same way that you talked about the idea that anything you can get from a hardware store is just kind of bottom dollar. That
they basically get lumberyard cutoffs. She
right.
did it to herself. Except it didn't hurt.
They were. There are contractors that are what we call Chuck in the truck, and I think I've said this before.
That is funny. Come on, lady. I'm going to aim for the big glowing. That was it.
That will go to hardware stores. They'll get the cheapest stuff, and then they'll put it on your roof. Well, okay, is it a new roof?
Chuck in the
sure.
Truck. Is that so? This is a derogatory term. I thought it was a friendly term.
No, not at all.
I thought it was like your friend Truck. Your friend Chuck in the truck.
No, it's Chuck in the truck, meaning like
Chuck. As in, I was thinking this was a nickname like Chuck in the truck, not like you're talking just throw it in the back of the truck.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like your friend Chuck in the truck.
Dan in the van.
Yeah, I was like, is that what we're going for here?
No, it's the idea that there are contractors out there that, because especially in Texas, there's no requirements as far as what it is needed to be a contractor in roofing.
I think you had to get just specifically in roofing, or because I know for a general contractor's license you do have to take it. So it's a different thing.
But with roofing, anybody with a truck can literally go out and go, "Hey, I'm a roofer now." And it's like, okay, but you get a roof from this guy.
I support that though, because I go,
Here's
let
the issue,
let the market decide.
I agree, but here's the issue. You have all these guys that are up there, and it's like, yeah, they're putting a roof on, but they don't know jack diddle about what they're doing, and they literally are putting it on crooked because they're
if you die again, I
three
will.
sheets to the wind. And well, I'm gonna die at some point.
Well, I mean, if you die within the first 30 seconds or first 3 seconds, even, I am gonna take the controller back. You'll get no mercy from me.
You'll see no mercy from me.
What are you?
Last time she gunned me down when I
Well, don't
stuck
go
my
shooting
head
random. This is why the sitting still strategy works.
out. What do you mean? Because
As in,
all it does
sit
is
still, wait for her to charge her, then you run, because then you can guide her in a specific way, because she will chase you. Whereas when you wander
except
around,
that she runs directly towards me.
exactly. So you run, and that way you can run. You can lead her to follow you in a specific way. Like you can run down this track, and now you know she will walk next to that thing. So you have to. That's how you're gonna set a trap for her. I wouldn't shoot it
didn't
while you're
work.
next to it, because that would hurt her.
I
I think it's the big. This would be worth doing. This is what you should do. Do your exploratory run. Shoot it in a specific place. Like I imagine the big circular hole is where the damage is going to be done.
Yeah.
I don't think she's chasing you right now.
Well, but
The rifle also isn't going to do as well, because
I tried the shotgun already.
Okay, so that doesn't seem to help much at all. Well, that we know it happens. I wouldn't go wasting.
Well, this is exploratory, so.
Well, okay, you're gonna die anyways.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I might as
Oh! Those were bullet. Oh, that is her! I thought that was just the bullet holes making that shape.
So, all that to say, when you. If I'm one of those types of contractors, I'll go out and buy the cheapest crap and put it on your roof. Well, it's like, okay, I got a new roof, but it's only going to last me 6 years, versus if somebody that actually got something from a supplier is going to last 40 plus.
Well, here's the other thing I thought of, because this was a sort of ancillary thing. And I realized it's impossible to make this metric in a way that you could, or at least I thought it was, to make a metric that's like, how can we, not that you can dictate, because of course you can't, but like, what's the strategy by which you can say, these are the things to consider before making a decision on those kinds of price versus quality thing. And I feel like...
But see, the only way you do that is to inform the consumer.
Well, yes. Now, hang on. I'm going to do something... okay. Before she attacks, I want to try my exploratory research, because I want to know what causes this. I don't think maybe it's the control panel? It is the control panel, so shoot the computer-y part. Now, that may have also been due to me shooting it several times. Well, I guess we're about to trial by fire! Okay, so she's gonna chase me. I'm gonna watch... Okay, so it's more than once, clearly. It has to be more than once. How many times more than once? Shot it once. I shot it twice. I clearly think it's more than twice. It's 3 times, probably. Well, then...
Time's the lady.
So now we know this one is primed to go. One more shot will set this off. Might as well just do it to these. There you go. 2 shots. I think the other one already went off. Yeah, this one looks like it's already gone. Now, I also imagine that if we overdo this and we blow it, like I imagine if I shot this, it would probably fully explode. But she's next to it. Okay, so that's what happens. So when it's flashing red, that means the next time it explodes, it'll kill everyone. So here's what you can do. Although, so basically run around and shoot every one of those things twice. Then they'll all be primed, and it'll only take 1 shot to set it off. And I imagine, I'm thinking in Mario terms, 3 times, we get her to hit that 3 times, and that'll probably do it her in.
Maybe.
Well, that's my hope, because
anyway,
it's the only thing that hasn't been tried.
I just think, really, that's where I say the class system or economic structure comes into
my
play.
guideline. Here's what I would say. Everyone's familiar with the concept of the diminishing returns graph,
right?
Where basically, if you plot quality, or it's effort expended versus quality received, there's the obvious fact that on the highest end of stuff, you got to put a whole lot more effort into something in order to get a good quality out of it. Now, yeah, I don't know what the economy is on it with the low powered rifle. It might be more than 3 shots, but I guess we'll see. I wish it had some kind of indication, like if it started turning Like, it turns red when we know it's going to blow for real, but, well, trial by fire, she's coming.
Is she actually? Oh,
yeah,
she's behind me.
Yeah, and she's going to keep doing it. 3 times, remember? Okay, so she set it off that time. Yeah, so
So diminishing returns. What were
like
you
the
saying
idea
there?
that when you're on the highest end of something, you got to put a lot of either effort or time or money into it to get very small positive benefits.
Right.
Whereas when you're on the low end of something, it takes very little effort to get a much better product. And I think if you think of it in mathematical terms, if forgive me for, I got to use this engineering degree somehow. If you imagine that taking the derivative of that graph. Are you familiar with what a derivative is?
We'll continue because I don't
It's
know
effectively,
that just from you saying
it's effectively
that, I would immediately know exactly what you mean.
It's a way that you can plot the slope of a graph. So
Sure.
So it's basically saying at this point it's going up, at this point it starts going down.
Right.
The derivative would give you a graph that is
point.
just up versus down.
Right.
It would be positive and negative. And the thing that I'm wondering is, actually I just realized that this is a bad analogy because it just occurred to me that mathematically speaking it doesn't actually track, because there's going to come a point at which you are going to start experiencing, I forgot I needed to prep them, I didn't prep anything. I could still theoretically, okay, I think I missed it, but I'm going to have to take this chance. So that should go off right now, except I'm out of ammo, and she set it off, it's going to kill everybody. Alright, the problem is we get too invested in this topic and then I don't pay attention. But in the early stages, you've got a very steep slope to the graph. It's going up real fast. Towards the end, it starts to die off.
Right.
Now the reason this is a bad analogy is I realize that normally the slope never does actually go negative, in which case the derivative, I was thinking the derivative, the useful thing about a derivative is you can tell when a derivative equals 0, that means the slope is flat. Which means that it has stopped going one way or the other. And
no,
it's
I still think
neutral.
you could. It would just be the apex of the bell.
Yes, but it's not a 0 point. I thought it was going to be a nice, concise.
Wouldn't it be? It would be 0, and at that point, it would go back down to 1.
Because that doesn't.
-1.
No, it doesn't do that, is my point.
Well, maybe.
Because, it was a poor mathematical example. I thought I was being clever. But effectively, I guess the point you could say is the point at which the graph becomes pseudo-linear. That's where you should start considering, whether or not it's continually worth it. So I would say, basically, you put a little bit of effort in, you get a big reward. You put a little more effort in, you get a slightly smaller reward. The moment you start getting equal returns of, like, I put this much in and I get this much out, when the graph is turning to a linear, like, 1-to-1, past that point, you would then know that you're in the area of diminishing return. And in my opinion, I don't see why you would ever stop before that. This is what I was getting at, is like, I've talked before about, I buy the admittedly inferior donuts from the grocery store because they're cheap. They're like $3 for a dozen. Krispy Kreme is $9 for a dozen. That's 3 times the price, and I would say they're approximately 3 times the value. So in my opinion, it's an equal investment either way, because you're going, okay, I'm spending less, but I am getting what it's worth.
Right.
If I can spend more and get
the ratio
equal,
is the same.
Yeah. If there was a donut company that could sell donuts for, say, $6 that were equally as good as Krispy Kreme, then that's the ratio. I guess maybe that's the better, forget my attempt at being clever with the graph. It's when the ratio reaches 1-to-1, I think that's sort of the ideal point of that's where you should be going.
Sure.
And obviously if you get a ratio that's like, I'm getting twice out of this what I'm putting in, that's an obvious step.
But see, no, that's only a step for one side or the other. That's the problem. 1-to-1, I agree with you.
Ratio means, because ratio means a 2-to-1 ratio is not the same as a 1-to-2 ratio.
What I'm saying though is if it's 2-to-1 for me, meaning, okay, I'm getting more return for my,
Dang it! It was sparking, but it wasn't hurting her. And then I shot it, and then it hurt me. So that doesn't seem to work.
If I'm the manufacturer and I'm getting more money for,
well, no, you still make money in that instance.
I agree, but now because it's not 1-to-1 anymore, the quality is actually inferior to what I'm getting for the money. in other words, then at that point the consumer's being burned.
Yeah, but you can still... there's always markup. I'm not suggesting there's not going to be a markup. You can... Krispy Kreme donuts cost probably less than $1 to make. That's just dough.
Sure, I know that.
It's oil and flour and sugar.
But you already made the statement that you feel like for the value, it's fair. It's comparable in that it's 1-to-1, arguably.
Yeah, but I'm saying they still are making... It's not like they're selling them for exactly the price they make them, and therefore they're not making a profit.
No, I'm not expecting that.
That's not what I mean by 1-to-1. I mean,
no, I'm not
the
saying that
received
either.
quality is equal to the input cost.
But you misunderstood what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
Don't
at the
chase
point...
her. She's going to turn around.
At the point that the manufacturer has a 2-to-1 ratio, the consumer has a poorer...
But I'm not
product.
talking about the manufacturer. I'm talking about you as the consumer. Don't buy unless you're getting more out of it than you're putting in, or equal out of it than you're putting in.
Sure.
So
yes.
you should be the two in that instance, not the manufacturer.
And at that point, you hold them to what? Some sort of...
Well, no, you just stop buying.
Expectation.
You stop buying. That's the
then holds
expectation.
The expectation.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
You go, if I'm not getting...
I get hung up on all this wall crap.
You do, so stop running backwards. You gotta navigate. I don't know what the strategy really is, because the bullets don't seem consistent.
Anyway, all that to say that I think the second point that he makes about the cheaper stuff and the fact that I think class had to come into that because, as you said, people want to look like they're high class without having to be. And that's like, you can't... Yeah. There's a point in which...
The fact that it's possible means, of course, people are going to do that because they're motivated by self-interest.
Yes, but at that point, you're not only cheapening the products, you're also cheapening your own experience.
Well, I agree, but that's where I don't think people realize that, because if you don't have the expectation, you'll just think, well, I'm getting what I get.
I agree.
I could get
But
better.
I think Jordan Peterson talks about this. Maybe it's not Jordan Peterson. I remember somebody I was listening to, and I feel like it was Jordan Peterson. Talks about the living essentially within your means of saying if you don't...
No, you're ruining the strategy!
If you don't have...
Are you still close to that?
Oh, no, you know what? It's not Jordan Peterson. It's...
Dang it. Where are you coming from?
It may be...
Coming from here? No, you're coming from here.
Dave Ramsey.
Well, he's definitely sounds like something he'd say.
But he talks about the idea...
Oh, come on, that doesn't hurt! Okay, so I can get it to spark, but that doesn't even hurt her. Well, this whole experiment was a waste then, because that doesn't actually do her any harm.
So we need to get the no shocky to us, and then we need to just blow the crap.
Well, I suppose you could... I don't think we have any points to spend, but that's worth experimenting. See if we've got the upgrade points. I don't think we do. That'd be real stupid if we did and we didn't know it.
But essentially, living within your means is like, okay, if you want to get...
That's actually an empowering position to be in.
Because if you want to be in a different bracket, if you will, or strata, then you have to go, well, I have to put in the time. It's like the people that want to live on a rock star salary with like a doctor salary with a rock star schedule. It's like that. No, you don't get to do that unless you, in fact, are a rock star, and then more power to you for being the lucky swine that...
Well, yeah, because that is basically entirely luck-based, because you might say, oh, well, it's because they're... Okay, I literally saw her.
I didn't.
I saw her and went, I'm not even going to tell him, because I don't even have the time to get the words out. She was right there.
I didn't even looking at the...
You didn't, because I don't know why. But I just think we need to start empowering that message. And I think the thing is, what weirds me out is that this is what we were talking about last time, is everybody knows consumerism is a negative influence. Even the people who engage in it know that it's like, yeah, it's a little bit like, people who have caffeine addictions, where it's like, yeah, I know it's probably not great, but I'm not going to stop it. And that's where I'm just like, that's such a strange place to be in. Because I've never heard anyone who would argue that consumerism is a net positive. And that's what just weirds me. It's like, so then why is it still a thing? That's the part of it I don't get. Because there's definitely like the culture. There's the kind of, simple living. There's that trend of it's the tiny house thing is part of it, but it's not exclusively living off the grid. There's a movement of we're going to simplify, live within our means. That's going to be our whole thing. It's just I don't get why it's not more powerful. Why is it not more of a thing?
Because I think the notion of
Is this for the jumping ability? Skin augmentations, maybe?
What do I want to call it?
Okay. Wait. Oh, wait, no, that just means EMPs. Prevents augmentation, deactivation, and energy loss from EMP grenades and electricity, but that doesn't imply that it won't hurt me.
Go down one more and see if the other one...
That's just reduces damage. I mean, that would help a little bit, but that wouldn't help enough because that wouldn't... There's something that makes us immune. So that's not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of something that actually prevents us from taking any damage from it at all.
I suppose I would say the draw or the power of social exposition, maybe, of the idea of saying, I like showing off, I like feeling like I'm kind of...
Well, that's
like presenting myself as a high class citizen or whatever. And what I think is missing, and
basically, we've enabled liars to be much more subtle these days.
Correct. We've enabled, especially
industrialization made being a fake a lot easier.
Well, yeah, and I think especially on a social, socialite level, to
is this seriously
kind of chameleon yourself and go, well, I can fit into any context. What we lost is the idea that back in the day, class wasn't, like, for instance, manners and proper kind of ways of acting wasn't something that was based on a particular class. I would argue. I think that everyone had a degree of understanding, like, this is what you do, this is how you act.
There was definitely more.
There was more, but I'm just saying it was not across the board, just kind of. Now what you have is people at home, literally, they could be making buku bucks, and then people at home act completely just whatever. I'm, kind of hair down, I don't care, sometimes I'm in my underwear, that kind of a thing. And then you have like a low class citizen that's out there trying to, again, present themselves in some sort of a, hey, I'm this person that makes all this money, when they really don't. And I think you're right in saying it's made it easier for people to kind of con their way through life. It's conning. It's lying. Yeah, but I mean, it's lying. I almost feel like is not sharp enough. Because
I think con is just inaccurate, though.
It's not, because you're conning somebody by saying I'm.
No, because you're not extorting people. Conning and extorting go hand in hand. You can't con someone without extorting, because it doesn't. You're not trying to get things from other people.
You are accolades,
But that's not con man. Con man is like, I'm going to rob you by making you want to give me money. That's theft. That's why conning is illegal.
Sure.
Whereas to say I just want people to think that I'm high class, you don't actually get anything other than, I suppose, emotion.
Sure.
And I don't know that you can con someone into giving you an emotion. That's just lying. We can't afford this, because we would need this first, and that would cost us the 1 point we have. And this doesn't say it would prevent us from taking damage anyways. So I'm not confident it would work. This would still, this is an overall damage reduction, so this would help a little bit, but not
we might as well.
Wildly. I guess we have the point. I suppose, I'm trying to think, is there anything else in this fight that would help? I see over here there is the... What does this do? Oh, flash suppressant. That's helpful. That means that the flash grenades won't do us in. We'll drop out of their alarm state. I don't need that. That wouldn't be exactly useful in this fight because we're not strictly reliant on those. This allows us to see through walls. I don't think this allows us to see enemies who are invisible, though. So this wouldn't help us. We could pull the same cloak she's got, but that's sort of like, it's not exactly going to help. I guess this is the only thing I can think of, so, this will maybe help a little bit, but not as much as I was hoping.
So,
I'm going to save now.
All I'm saying is, yes, it's enabled people to live out some sort of fantasy like they are one person when they're actually not. And
back in the day, that actually took a remarkable amount of guile.
Well, not only guile, but also...
So in a way, you almost earned it. I mean, even though it was still lying, the fact that you could convince people was sort of a method of earning it.
But that's where I come back to the whole notion of con, because it's...
Yeah, but I think to call it a form of extortion is, I think, extreme, because you're not extorting anyone out of something. Hello,
I believe that to put yourself in a particular social group that you... This is going to sound real...
Well, you're about to start talking like the aristocracy was justifiable? You just don't deserve to be with the high class ones. You belong in the low class.
No, it's not even that, but I think that lowbrow certainly belongs on the floor.
Well, I mean, if you're not going to meet the standards of the high class, then you because basically all that you're saying is you don't get what you don't earn.
Well, not just that, but I think so forget money aside, because this is not a imperialist or like hey, I have to be like money has nothing to do with it. It's more the idea of if you are not willing to actually rise to the occasion on a intellect level, on a emotional,
you don't get what you don't earn
level or whatever, then you don't get to interact with those types of people. Like, I'm sorry,
I'm gonna beat you to the punch. I've got the dermal upgrades, so let's hope this hurts her more than it hurts me. I know it's probably gonna hurt me somewhat. Oh, she's hurt. She is hurt, and that didn't hurt me at all. What? Okay, so she does recover fairly quickly from that. Okay, how many more of those do I have? Okay, I'm out of them, but there's more ammo for that. So that's what I need. Although only
take the stuff.
None of this stuff is stuff I need. I don't actually just fill our inventory with trash.
What is it? How do you know what it is?
Because I know what guns we have, and I know what I'm looking at.
Is looking at it.
Typhoon ammo, EMP mine, revolver. Now you got me killed. I was being pedantic. So that works, but we do need to keep reloading it.
You see what I'm saying? It doesn't have to do with money as much as it is like
again, you don't get what you don't earn. That's my philosophy on everything in life. That's also the same. That includes the fake thing. Can you afford a nice stone countertop? No, then you don't get one.
Right.
You could waste your money on a fake. I guess if you're content with that, and I suppose the problem is we can't. There's going to be people who are, and exactly. I guess that's what I can't. We can't convince them.
But the whole clutter culture, to me,
unless we just shame people openly.
Wow, let's bring back the stock and what is it? Public humiliation.
I mean, I'm not saying you should be punished if you buy a fake countertop, but I mean, like, I suppose you could just not let them get off. You just get to go. Yo, I'm going to comment on it.
Is this a fake countertop?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be that kind of person,
you want to be a real
snob, but I don't think that's the solution.
No, what I'm getting at is, I think the whole idea of the clutter and all that kind of stuff on countertops is the same thing. People feel like if they have a lot of stuff, then they are doing well.
It means I've earned stuff, and it's like, right. No, but your stuff's crap.
Right, your stuff's crap.
You're only worth the crap you have, and it's crap.
And I think if we spent less time worrying about the amount of stuff and more time worrying about the quality of stuff, we'd be better off.
Here's the problem. Everyone knows that, and we don't do it. So clearly that's not the solution.
No, it is the solution. We just have to actually do it. In the same way that
it's not a solution.
Exercise is a solution to being fat, but people don't want to do it.
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, yes,
that's
I agree that it would solve the problem, but the problem is that people don't do it is its own problem. So you can't say we should advocate exercise, because advocating exercise doesn't mean people will do it. Therefore, that's not the solution.
Okay.
You have to make people want to exercise, and that's much harder. In the same sense that in this instance, if someone doesn't care about having fake stuff, how can you make them? Well, the only way is, I guess, to try and inspire them to say, don't you want better?
Right.
But the problem is maybe not everyone will.
Therein lies the issue, is it has to be an inspiration thing. It can't be the minute it becomes well,
you can't coerce it.
No, exactly. And the minute it becomes
morally speaking, you shouldn't. But even then, I don't think you physically can. Even if it was possible, I don't think you could.
Well, then you would become the snob that's like, get back into your social class, will you?
I mean, but even then, you can't. That would incentivize them not to do it, but that wouldn't stop them from doing it.
Did we save with the little noodle?
We've got the skin upgrade.
We've got the skin. What's
because basically, No, the
B
upgrade.
to blow is the
Well,
weird
that's yeah.
little
No,
spinny
it's
do.
it's D-pad to the right. The skin augmentation is automatic. That's just your numbers have gone up. I think you just came across her haphazardly. She's coming behind you. Run that way, straight. No. Oh, okay. You're standing next to the computer, you dolt.
I wanted to do that. I thought that was.
That's gonna hurt you.
Is it though?
Yes. I mean, maybe it'll delay, but once you stand up, now it's gonna hurt you. Well, I guess it didn't hurt you. It hurt you minimally, but the point is you're not gonna be able to repeat that several times because now you're hurt. It will kill you next time. Don't chase her now. You need to re-heal. You need ammo.
This would be so much easier if I reacted with Adam.
Well, because and this is again, I guess, we've come up against the exact same problem. Well, okay, now that she was faster normally, she doesn't take that. Normally, she takes longer to reload. We've come up against the same problem we talked about in the last one from the opposite side, where we're going.
Well, at least we've looked at it from a couple different
yeah,
angles.
I mean, at least it's fair to say we were saying last time that we can't do the same thing that the anti-capitalists do by saying, well, the manufacturers shouldn't exploit or shouldn't use crap or shouldn't do these things. It's like, by the same token, you can't just say to other people you shouldn't buy crap because they're going to do what they can get away with. And I guess that's what I'm recognizing.
Therein lies the key. If they can get away with it.
Yeah, but I don't think
so. There is
I don't think the solution
that
is to make it not possible to get away with it, because that would say we can't have technology at that point, because technology does enable you to get away with. Or you have to be a snob.
Well, it's not a snob. I mean,
it depends on the context. It certainly could be snobbish.
If you're the type of person that works really hard and gets, busts like crazy because you want... Because
I didn't have the time to drop a mine.
Actually wear a Rolex. Now, I'm just saying, that... But you will be insulted when somebody walks around with a fake Rolex and acts like or presents it as the real article. You will. That will be.
That's on you, though. You don't have to get insulted by what other people do. That's
but
forgive me for redounding to stoicism, but can I pick this back up?
That's a
Darn you! I wanted to deactivate it. I wanted to be able to drop it again.
No, I'm not even.
Well, it didn't hurt me.
Somehow saying that that's what you should do, or that I would be offended. What I'm saying is that.
Well, you just were saying you would be offended.
No, I'm saying you as in like people would, like the broader you.
Well, yeah, but again, that's up to them. They don't have to.
I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying is...
Come at me, lady.
Is it not okay to a degree to be like, well, see the differences in this?
To point it out, I mean, you'd have to acknowledge that you'll be that guy. I mean, if you're willing to be that guy, then okay, but
what
other people aren't going to want you to be that guy.
What other options have we, is all I'm asking.
Okay, so even when she's dazed, she can do her little Tai Chi moves.
Tai Chi is hardly what that was.
Whatever it was stupid. So I thought when she was dazed and half dead that I could actually give her a good sock, but apparently that's not the way it works. I can shoot her repeatedly. What? Okay, in this context, it would be okay to hit a woman. Let's just get that clear. We ain't gonna go so far. If a woman's beating you with explosives and guns, yeah, it's probably okay to beat her. I'm out of... No! I thought I had more of my explosive juice.
You're really digging yourself into a hole here.
Well, it's just because juice
is getting worse.
Juice is just a funny word to refer to necessary material to do anything, even if it's not juice related. There's just humor in that, and that means occasionally that humor will lead you awry. Okay. Anyways,
so my point is, how do we bring it about? Is the bottom?
That's what I don't know. I think you can only inspire people to do it, because like we were saying last week. Well, that's what I don't know. But like we were saying last week, you can't say because you should do this, therefore I just have to tell people that they should, and therefore they will. Because it doesn't work for anti-capitalists and it doesn't work for us.
Is it a matter of appreciating the means that you live within, or is it a gratitude question?
Well, I think there's an element. That's why I think the movement of people who sort of romanticize the living within your means and living off the grid. I think there's an element of they succeed by romanticizing that concept by look at our cozy little cottage we live in off the grid, and it's like. The problem is, as I noted earlier, that clearly doesn't work for everyone. Not everyone's motivated by that. Okay, what is in my inventory if I can't pick up ammo? So at that point, I don't know, because that's, I guess you just have to find other ways of motivating them to do it, but I don't know what they would be. I don't need this right now.
Well, we've soapboxed on this long enough. We're actually over time, so.
I don't need you. You can go. We have so much stuff. We have too many guns. I mean, not too many guns, but a lot. No! Oh, you're not even near me!
She just killed you while you were
She just was like, screw this fight. We're just going to both end.
All right.
Well, that's a fine enough spot. Well, it's not that over time. We usually go a little over. Well,
this has
the
been
point is the problem can't be solved. It's as I expected all along. The crime is unsolvable. I can't do a good Zoidberg voice. I wish I could.
This is where it's a lost cause, really.
There's no point. I do wish I could do a good Zoidberg because it's a good comedic delivery device.